Welcome back, everybody, to the Who Do You Like Your podcast. Joey C Note with you, and back in the studio, the kid returning back. Kid, how are you doing?
Good, very good. I'm
Does
happy
it
to be
feel good
back.
to be back?
It does, yeah. It's been too long. What,
Yeah,
4 weeks? 3, 4 weeks, something like that.
4 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. No, it's good to be back. Good to be back in the lab. Hopefully we get some winners this week.
yeah. You went out. We never really talked about it because obviously you, the last time you were on, you went out with a bang. Obviously,
Yep.
connecting pretty strong that day. You said you were gonna exit out on a positive note, and you definitely did. I will say that the subs we had coming in, Elio and Bornone, the Iceman, Joey Stats, and Barry Sniper Spears last week, uh, we kept the tradition alive with 4 out of 5s, so that's good.
That's nice. Didn't skip a beat while I was
Yeah, we
gone.
didn't we
So
didn't we didn't miss much there, but it's absolutely it's great to have you back. Um, Ready to kind of get back into the flow of what we've been doing. We're really close to Kentucky Derby now. 5 weeks away. We just had the Florida Derby last week. I know we've talked about it many times. One of our favorite races for prep going in. Barry seemed to think that maybe the Arkansas Derby was more the choice to look at for Derby contender this year than Florida Derby.
I think
So
so too. I don't know how I felt about the I guess competition in the Florida Derby. I think it
mhm.
was a good race overall, but I don't know if anybody really knocked my socks off in that race. I don't think I really saw like a lucrative performance out of anybody in comparison to when you watch the Arkansas Derby and you saw Sandman do, what they did in that race. I thought was a little bit more telling than what you saw
Yeah.
in Florida. I could be wrong, but
No, I,
that's
I
what I thought.
agree. Coming into the Florida Derby, I always liked Florida Derby, excited about it. I thought the competitors that were there, the race just turned out kind of totally different than I think we normally have seen in Florida Derby days. But yeah, nobody jumped out like a White Abarrio going
No,
into that race where it was a strong contender that I really liked. I thought it was pretty wide open, and I want to say less convinced that it could be a possible Florida Derby winner. But let's get into it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the races from last week. Let's kind of like just recap a little bit. We'll do Florida Derby first. This one, I mean, right from the get go, seemed to be kind of what you expected. I did like the 10 Sovereignty. That was my top choice. Now, mind you, that the 8 that's got the lead here, that's Mike Smith going wide on the first turn, and Manny Franco on Sovereignty instead of Junior Alvarado, obviously with the injury. So take that as you may. I think Sovereignty still ran a bang up race, moved quite well, maybe a little later than I would expect. I think if Junior's on there, we see a different maybe finish than what you did with Saez on Tappan Street winning this race. But I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see come Kentucky Derby Day how that kind of pans out. Any thoughts from? I mean, here it's basically. I did like the one too. Let me take that back. We did talk about last week with Barry. I did like the one. I thought the one hit the board here. Edgar Zayas, Safi horse, was sitting in such a really good position here. Second, the eight's kind of having its way up front. Fractions were 47, and I think the half was pretty much right there. It was pretty
yeah,
steady. The the five here, indecisiveness just kind of fades out here at 99.01.
yeah.
And this is where Tappan Street starts making its move on the turn. I like that because that's Kentucky Derby-esque of what we're looking for. And Sovereignty's right behind. But man, he's really, really, I think he's working really hard on the 10
Yeah,
to get him going. And I thought it was a little late, but he's really into him here. Finishes up strong, no doubt. Mike Smith's about to kind of throw up the white flag here to Neoquist. Neoquist had a great race. Neither of them are going to win this race, obviously. Saez drives on past here convincingly. And now you see Manny going to the left-handed whip. I think
hmm
Sovereignty's responding, but just a little bit too late.
yeah.
Saez got the jump and definitely wins here by 2 lengths
I
with the
think
one.
if you get a better trip out of Sovereignty there, and you're not so far back, and you place this horse differently, you probably come away with a different result. I think just the amount of ground that they close in that short stretch of time, I
Yeah,
think makes sense. I mean, nothing to take away from the 9 there. I mean, I think Saez rode a great race, but I think that in comparison to the two horses, I think Sovereignty had more horse, just not the best opportunity in comparison to the perfect trip that Saez gave.
correct.
So I think it's just unfortunate that I think if Junior was aboard, I think you're seeing a little bit different, right? And also, Manny hasn't been riding at Gulfstream, so I think you take that into
Exactly.
account as well. The timing's a little bit different when you go from Aqueduct to Florida and you go to Gulfstream. I think it's totally different. And, yeah, he had a couple of races under his belt, but as you can see here, look, he's gobbling up ground. If you're going an extra, you know, couple panels, you might see a different result even.
Yeah,
But
I think Sovereignty's gaining a little bit here, finally hitting the stride.
I
Like I
mean,
said, another
with every stride, they're catching up. Every stride,
another
they're catching up.
16th. It's just it
Yeah.
was just a late move. I think they could have moved a little sooner. I think we
Yep.
need to see is right when Tappan Street was making its move, which is basically at the start of the turn here. Here's Sias making his move. Not that, and again, not that Manny's not tailing him right now. He's only 2 lengths behind him, but just the jump. And I don't think Sovereignty really responded right away for Manny. Top of the stretch, then he finally like kind of snapped into it, maybe
Yeah.
just a little late. Sometimes I like seeing that in a horse. I like seeing a race like this from Sovereignty. It'll be farther, obviously, when we go in. Everything's different when we go into the Kentucky Derby, obviously. But I think I like a race sometimes where you're finishing up strong as a second. You had a jockey change. You didn't not hit the board. So I think it's a
Right.
positive for Sovereignty. But Tappan Street, bang up race, got some serious points. I did, going back here with Mike Smith on Manicat Road, another similar race, had the lead, falter, but strong finish fourth. Like didn't just drift off and fade away.
Yeah.
Really kind of held its fourth place there. Niequist, a bang up third place for Edgar Zayas and Savvy Joseph. When we switch gears now and we go over to, the Arkansas Derby, much different race.
Mhm.
Both races fast paced early, but this was just a suicide pace. Cornucopia on the outside, and the 5 just hook up here at the top. Nobody wants to give in and take that second position. I thought, I just know Cornucopian was not going to give up the lead, but I thought Speed King would have backed off a little bit. Does a little bit here,
Yeah.
but doesn't give up rail position. Definitely doesn't. Re-engages here very short. Eddie looks over his shoulder. He sees how far up they are. He knows slowing down is not going to help him. Now he's got to hope that he can get out as far. And now the 5 re-engages here. Slowing down is just not happening. 22 and 4 quarter. You're going to see a blazing half mile here. They got about 10 lengths at this point, 45 and 2 for the half. And then just locking up right here, 5 and the 9, just not going to, they're just going to try to steal the race. Now, everybody starts cutting. They come back to the field really quick. Again, the moves that you're seeing here from these horses that finished in the tops are making their move on the turn that you like to see in the Derby. So very similar kind of race style from your winner here. Yeah, Sandman circling out. Now here's about 5-6 wide. The 5's done. The 9 throwing out the anchor. And we're really looking at kind of like Cold Battle, who took the lead, who ran a really great race. And then Sandman just overpowering here with that wide sweep. Both horses very green in the stretch.
Yep.
And then your second place finisher, the maiden in this race with Flavian Pratt, really thought had a really great race. Almost thought it was going to beat Sandman for a second, the way Sandman was all over the track. But Jose gets him in gear. Here, straighten him out and just handwriting with showing the whip a few times. But I think the race was really won at the move, which is, again, on this turn. Maybe it was too early a move from Cold Battle, but that's how this horse races. That's the expectation that I think he would have saw. Nobody expected those fast fractions. The 8 has a very comfortable gaining every ground, but Sandman is just even more so confidently ridden. So I just thought it was interesting. Publisher ran a great race. Again, another one that, hard to factor in being a maiden that would contend with these horses, but finished up very strong.
Yeah. I also like to see a horse that in one of these races that can go 5-6 wide and still take the lead and hold on and not drift out too far and not get too out of control. But I mean, in the Kentucky Derby, you're going to have to go through traffic. You might have to go 5-6 wide, to pass horses, and that's exactly what Sandman did. So kind of indicative of what you might see in a Kentucky Derby, even though there's not as many horses there and you're not fighting through that much traffic, you're still fighting through enough, and a strong effort down the stretch.
Yeah. Your top finishers in both these races have exactly what you're looking for, in my opinion, for what you're looking for on the first Saturday in May. And I think Sandman definitely possesses that strong move on the turn with great closing speed, late speed for that long stretch run. I think Cold Battle too. I think maybe it was just a little bit mistiming and the fractions just being ungodly,
Right.
fast. Albeit Cornucopian does hold on for fourth here, which, running those fractions is still only winding up here. What are we saying? 7-8 lengths off from the lead, and finishing up strong. Pretty impressive from that young horse as well.
Agreed.
So I will say though, we did call Sandman out after, between the two of us watching the previous races and saying that next time out, Sandman's had so many bad races. When Barry and I talked about it, we said, the races, his breaking out of the gate, trouble at the gate, getting slammed, rearing up at the start, still finishing up strong. It's finally got a good race out of him. That was our top pick, and it basically showed up exactly what we expect from that horse. So maybe Sandman's the real deal. Really green still, though. A lot to be seen. But that's it for prep races for these horses. They'll be going in on Saturday. So we'll have to kind of watch works and see how it goes. Other than that, March Madness, you had a fantastic 2 weeks of March Madness.
Sure did.
Stellar 2 weeks. And I got to say, if we go back to last year's podcast, the second day and second day of opening weekend and the second set of games, you even into the Elite Eight, you seem to always have something going into these second Sweet 16 and Elite Eight rounds going into the Final Four. You've had some success, a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations on those picks. Me so much, nothing changing. Just like the pick 5, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 4 on the parlays, 2 out of 3 on the parlays, 5 out of 6 on the parlays. Yeah. Always missing that on one. So.
Yeah, I think usually the first 2 days, even though it's the best 2 days, I think, out there, aside from Breeders' Cup, obviously. But the best 2 days and, sports-wise, you got all the games going on. I typically don't do great in those first 2 days. I think just too much action right away too quick. But then once you get down, you cut that, the field in half, and you can start seeing the board a little bit differently, So, yeah, that's where I make my money, is usually the second round and a couple after. But
yeah, Sweet 16 and Elite Eights. Those are your key matchups here. And maybe it's because you get to see a couple games. You get to see the first round, how they actually play. Yeah. Did they squeak by on a team that they should have beat convincingly? How are players reacting? Some of these players are just like gimmies, though. I mean, the kid Clayton from Florida, pretty much a gimme. The over on points, he gets 9 points in the last minute with 3 threes. I mean, that's a player you want to have on your parlay if you've got him over and stretching out some high points. But getting into this weekend coming up, who's your final two? Who are you predicting to go to the championship match?
Well, if Janai Broom is okay, I do like Auburn. I think Auburn's tough. But I mean, Florida was my top choice out of all the teams. I was like, I think Florida can win it. So I think that's going to be a really hard match to go against. I think Duke is going to beat Houston. I think that's the storyline. I think everybody wants to see Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple in the finals, which is, and it seems like the referees do too. I mean, if you watch the games, it seems like that way too. So the storyline seems like it's almost written for them already. So I'm leaning towards Duke. I really think Florida is the team, but they gotta go out quick and shoot well right away. They can't wait till 5 minutes left in the second half to start going, So they're not playing Texas Tech, they're playing Auburn, the number 1 seed overall. But Auburn hasn't looked as great the last couple games they have, but the first couple games were subpar. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be a tough game. Like I said, my original thought was Florida, but I think Auburn's tough. I think it's going to be kind of a toss-up between the two. I'm probably not leaning on money line if I bet those games. I'm not going to bet money line one way or the other. I'll probably just do a bunch of player props and stuff. Probably, I don't know what the over-under is. It depends what the over-under is at. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win that game yet.
We still got another couple days here. Couple more days to figure it out. I think you can post it on X if you want. If I were you listening or watching, I'd tell the kid he's been pretty hot. He always gets pretty warm. And then heats up here in this tournament. I go to 2 things when it comes to Final Four. Number one, it's great to see 4 number 1. I know people don't like it. It doesn't happen that often. The last time it happened was 2008. It seems like it's always a number 1 in the final game, but Not necessarily. You just really have to look at the history. It feels like it because the teams play like they're number one seeds, even if
Yeah.
they're 2 or 3s or 4s or whatever the case may be. However, it's nice to see all number ones in. I think the committee did a great job this year in getting the right choices and who is going to be positioned for those top seeds. They got that right. I think Auburn can beat Florida. Florida hasn't gotten off to a good start in any game yet in this tournament. And I don't think Auburn's a team that you're going to want to sleep on and fall back and have to try to get back into it. So I'm not convinced. I like Florida a lot, but I think Auburn's going to win. Not to mention, I also go with coaching. So I think Bruce Pearl has the advantage there. He's been in a lot of tournaments. He's got the seasoning. On the other side, Houston's supposed to be one of the best defensive teams, and they got knocked out by Duke last year. And now these seniors are returning, and now they're up against a freshman group led by Flag. I think maybe Houston does get the redemption from them this year and actually can beat Duke. It won't be easy. I think Duke's the overall. Yeah, I think so too. I don't think it's going to be low scoring. I think they're just going to have to match.
Everybody's talking about how good Houston is on defense, which they are, but Duke is the only team in the tournament that's beating teams by 20 points a game. Everybody else are close games. Everybody else has been played tough. You could say they had an easy trip, but they didn't really. They had to play Alabama too, and they showed them up. But I think like they said, everybody's hyping up the Houston defense and redemption. But I think that they're just going to come out firing. I think whatever the over is set at, if it's 150, 140, if it's anything under 150, I'm definitely betting the over. 100%.
Yeah,
that's a game. I think it's they score too easily too.
But. Yeah, I mean, I was going to look up the lines real quick just to see, but I think it's going to change anyways.
Yeah.
Definitely going to change. Duke's the favorite, though, right? Even though they're not the overall number one seed, they are the favorite. Say what you want, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be Auburn. I think it's going to be Auburn and Duke. I'd like to see Auburn and Houston, but then again, I could be totally wrong. We'll see. Obviously, don't listen to me because I've been totally wrong, pretty much predominantly. Although I am leading in the bracket right now, I do have Auburn winning it all. If they win it all, I'll win the bracket. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We've got a lot to cover here. We're going to go ahead and do some handicapping. Let's move on to actually horse racing, what everybody's here to talk about and listen to is opening weekend at Keeneland. And we say this every year. Are we better in the spring or are we better in the fall? I know we ended up in the fall doing quite well at Keeneland at the end of last year. But I always think we do better in the spring. And we're going to find out come this Saturday because we're going to do the opening weekend. It's a really good card. Kind of excited to have you back on opening weekend at Keeneland. Any insights on that? And I do know that there's been a lot of rain. Midwest, we've gotten a shit ton of rain. I know Kentucky's gotten a ton of rain. I don't think we're going to see turf at Keeneland this weekend. There's one race in the sequence that is scheduled on the turf. I'm going to handicap it being off. If it's on, I'll be surprised because there's more rain coming through in the forecast here over the next 24 hours. I'd be surprised, but there's really nobody in this race that is scheduled on the turf that I would say is a standout on dirt or not. Everybody is run on different surfaces. They're all turf or synthetic predominantly. So I think you kind of have to handicap the race basically the way that you see it's going to be played. I don't think there's any advantage if it does go to dirt from one horse to another, but I'd look for a little consistency on how a horse's running style competes on both surfaces if you get a chance. That's kind of how I handicap. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start in race 7 for Saturday's card at Keeneland. Race 7 is 7 furlongs. It's a grade 3 Commonwealth Stakes, purse $350,000 for 4-year-olds and upwards. Kid, welcome back. Glad to have you. Who do you like here?
Ooh, you want me to start off first, huh?
Yeah.
I landed on the 2. Montelsino, is that how you say it? Cherie DeVoe, Jose Ortiz, obviously they've connected as he was riding a whole bunch, obviously, in the Midwest this winter. And I'm looking at a horse that's going to go to the front, does it consistently, and runs probably the fastest fractions out of anybody in the field. I know there's a lot of speed in this race. I think there's a couple horses that typically go out to the front. I just don't think that they're going to go any faster than the 2. So I like to see the 2 on the front end. I think Jose, obviously, with the connection, with the fact that he's ridden this horse, obviously, multiple times, knows exactly where he needs to put him. I think, they've got a really good opportunity here. Some really good speed figures, right? You got a 101 twice in its career and a 95 and 96 speed figure. Probably the best average speed figure in the group. Obviously, smaller sample size in comparison to some horses, but
Hmm.
obviously looks the best. Obviously in great form. 3 out of 4 races. In the last 3 races, I mean, they just missed in the fairgrounds race of the Thanksgiving. Is that the Thanksgiving race?
Yeah.
Yeah, just missed by a head. Still ran a 101 speed figure. Obviously, just got beat. Sometimes that happens. But the other 2 wins that they had underneath there, one by 6 lengths and 5.5. So when they win decisively. I think they're going to be hard to catch on the front end. So I've got the 2 as my top choice.
Hmm.
I've got the 5 at a price underneath. I think
Okay.
Saez for Gary Contessa here. I think Gary Contessa sending the horse here. Definitely an interesting move, right? But this horse kind of races all over Saratoga, Delaware, Tampa. So I don't think the trip here is going to make much of a difference. But I think it's an interesting spot. Really good form. Again, another horse that's done really well. It's hitting the board every single time. Obviously, I think Junior Alvarado probably would have the mount here.
Yeah.
But being that he's out, you're going to get Saez, which obviously I think helps the odds a little bit, just because of the simple fact that, he's never ridden this horse. It's a tough field, but they've won a grade 1 race before, and they've come in third by a length and a quarter or 3/4 in another grade 1. So and that's at Saratoga. You know how hard it is to win at Saratoga. You know what competition you're
Yep.
looking down the barrel at. Great speed figures coming in the race. I thought it was interesting after the June 8th race. They come out, they finish third by a length of 3/4. They come back in an open company race. It seems like maybe just a freshening up. They don't win it, and then they come back into a ungraded stakes race at
Hmm.
Tampa and they win by a neck. So again, I don't know if I necessarily like this horse to win, but I definitely like this horse at a price for underneath. So I threw the 5 on there on the card. I think it's going to juice up the exacta or the try. And then I also have the 10. I think the 10 looks really, really nice. Flavian Pratt, I feel like always does well at Keeneland, especially in the spring. Kind of gets back to, busy season for him and starting to win that
Yeah.
business back. I think coming off of a win, obviously with Tyler last time out, coming into the race with a win in open company, you're getting Steve Asmussen and Flavian Pratt, which is obviously a combination you don't see all that often. But again, this horse is definitely ridden in the big races, very highly touted. In some of these races, I know we talked about this horse multiple times, especially going into what was it, the Haskell. Thought this horse maybe had a little bit extra giddy up in there. Obviously, they faltered a little bit, came in fourth, but really competitive in every single race. Do I think it can win? I don't know about that. But again, underneath, I love this horse. That's why I've got the 2 on top. So I went 2 with the 5-10 in this leg.
Yeah, that the 5's very interesting. Two's a great choice to put on top. The 5 is really interesting now that you mention it, and looking a little deeper. The workouts have been really great on the 5 as well. 36 and 3 for the 3 furlongs last time out on April 2nd, and a nice 1 minute and 3/5 for 5 furlongs on March 27th. They had to put this horse on the shelf for a little bit, so I think
Yep.
you're looking at this spread out, right? I mean, winning the hopeful as a 2-year-old, and then as a 3-year-old, one race, basically 10 months later, and then on the shelf again until January of this year, a freshener, and then $125,000 non-graded stakes race. And I agree, if Alvarado's on there, maybe I think differently, but it's a really, really tough race. I kind of went a different direction as far as looking who was going to go on top. I went with the 6, Hoist the Gold. Obviously, first time out this year, win at 80,000. That's your freshener. That's your welcome back. But 101 speed figure on debut. The workout's coming in a minute and 3/5 on March 21st, and then a 36 and 2 on March 29th. Just think it's in a really good spot. Brian Hernandez, Dallas Stewart teaming up here. Horse has been in a couple grade 1s, at Churchill Downs and at Saratoga, not finishing up the best in those races. I like that this one's at 7 furlongs and the freshener was at 6. I think the horse looks really well. It's odds-on favorite. It's non-Lasix. Not really too worried about it, but the horse does run a little better on Lasix. But I think the 6 has got a great chance. I think that opening race, that debut, gives me a little more convincing that the horse is in good shape. Second choice would be the 2 that you gave for everything that you said. Moving up in class, but has everything that you're looking for in a front-running end, which kind of like at Keeneland. I actually went with the 3 underneath also, Epic Ride with Luan Machado. Back-to-back wins, another one that's moving up, coming off synthetic, has run well on some grade 3s on the dirt, going 7 furlongs. So I want to make sure I put that one in the exacta. And I'm going to throw my bomb. You got the 5. I got the 4. Carmel Chip, another one moving up in class, but has a nice late kick here. One last time on an optional 62,000. Second by a neck in the Pelican, 125,000 at Tampa. And then third on an optional claiming 62,000, but it came in at Gulfstream Park. That one was at 7 furlongs last time out. So 30-1 in the morning line from what I see now. So I finally got odds before after I handicap, but I like 6-2-3-4. You got 2-5-10. I think it's a little bit of a spread race, but the 6 and the 2 seem to be the best ones. My option and your option. 2 is going to be really, really tough.
I agree.
We can move on to the 8th race. 8th race is going to be the 7 furlongs. It is the Madison Grade 1. Purse is $650,000 for fillies and mares 4 years old and upwards. I'll go ahead first on this one. I'm going to go with the 6 in this one as well. I'm going to take Scylla. I like this horse coming back. It'll be debut for 2025. Last year, 8 times out, 3 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Strictly running in these graded races, grade 3s, grade 2s, and grade 1s. You'll see everybody running all over at Keeneland, Churchill Downs, as well as Saratoga and Del Mar. Horse travels well. 2 times over the surface, 1 win and a third. Flavian Pratt for Belmont. And I think the workouts coming in, I like the 101 and 1, 5 furlongs on March 22nd. But the 35 and 4 coming in shows me that they're getting the horse sharp to get out there and sit. Probably not going to be going to the front, but we'll be sitting there very close to the pace. So I really like this one for Juddmonte Farms and Bill Mott. I think this one's going to be the winner on debut this year. The speed figures anywhere near what it's been running in the past last year is going to be, should be very well to win this race. Underneath in no specific order, the 2 Emery with Machado. I do like that last race in the grade 2 at Gulfstream Park. 96 speed figure for first time for the year. With Gaff Leone, now you're getting Luan Machado, obviously with the injury. Luan's going to be riding that one. I like the 4, My Main Squeeze, debuting in 2025 with Louis Saez for Mike Maker. Just the consistency of graded stakes races and this horse's ability to close. Has ran against these horses, very familiar. And Louis in the iron kind of makes me a little more confident. He's continuing to get them out, so he's doing things right in Mike's eyes, so he's getting the opportunity here. And then I kind of like, tough for me to go with here. The 7 and the 8 are really close. I'm giving the 8 Mystic Lake with Irad, the nudge up, and Safi over the 7. And I'm not really disrespecting the 7. 7's done nothing wrong to take it off my ticket. It's my 5th choice. I just can't have 9 choices in this race. Jose's doing everything right with this horse for Sherry DeVoe. I like the stretching out also. I don't think that's going to hurt, but I'm going with the 8 on debut, 97 speed figure in the grade 2 at Gulfstream Park on January 25th. And the workouts, pedestrian average, what you get. The 7 even had better workouts with that 46 and 1, which was a nice, really breeze bullet workout on March 28th. But I had to toss somebody, so I'm going to toss the 7 out. It's probably going to cost me.
It might. I didn't have it on my ticket, though, so.
Okay, well, then maybe not.
I have the 4 as my top choice. Saez, Mike Maker. Saez obviously has ridden this horse quite a bit. Last was at 7 races, 5, 6, 7 races, whatever.
6, 7, yeah.
Like you said, no slouch, no stranger to the graded stakes field and competition. This horse runs in grade 2s, grade 1s, grade 3s. Really doesn't matter. Very, very consistent, hitting the board at a crazy clip, especially when Saez is aboard. They had some success early on in their career in New York. Then they moved to Oakland. Then they went to Churchill and Saratoga. It doesn't really matter. Last 2 times in the Midwest at Churchill Downs in Kentucky and Keeneland, this horse came in first by 5 lengths and then second by 2 lengths in a grade 3 and a grade 2. So, I think that they see that this horse is very capable, and definitely, can run with the best of them. Just sometimes you're going against some bigger horses and some better horses that day. So I think they're just looking for that perfect trip. And I think this is a good spot. I think it's wide open. If you look at this race, I think there's so much competition that anybody that wins this race, I would not be surprised. But I'm going to go ahead and lead in Saez here, especially since he's ridden the horse multiple times. He's had some connections in here that he could have ridden other horses, but obviously stays aboard the kind of trusty 4 here for me. So I like the 4. I think that, the 6, like you said, makes a lot of sense. Again, another horse that's is not shy to the grade 1 field. Last 3 races they ran, they just have not gotten the job done. But again, you're running against society. You've got some really, really tough competition coming into these races. So when you finish second, it's almost as good as first. You're getting Flavian Pratt for Bill Mott here. And again, Bill Mott has got some really good statistics in the graded races, especially when it comes over here to Keeneland. So, I think having this horse on your ticket definitely makes a lot of sense, and it should be on your ticket in some way, shape, or form. So, and I mean, like you said, on the debut coming back, after a layoff, you were on a 102 speed figure. You only finished off one length off the lead with Mike
Yeah.
Smith aboard,
Hmm.
and still finished fourth. But still, again, like I said, I mean, you're not losing anything there. That's a great effort. So the 6 makes a ton of sense. It's going to be on my ticket. And then, like you said, the 8. I think the 8 obviously is very strong coming into the race, winning the last 2 races. One of them being a grade 2, has ridden in a grade 1 before, did not get the job done. Finished a little bit further back than I would like to see. But when it gets into the grade 2s, grade 3s, they really just turn a corner and seem like they're a different horse. So it might be a little bit too much to come in the grade 1s. But I mean, after the last 2 efforts that they've seen at Gulfstream with IRAD aboard, I think you like your chances. And Safi obviously is going to make this horse step up to whatever the plate is. So I like what I'm seeing out of the 8. I think it makes a ton of sense as well. Like I said, it's a very, very wide open race. I think there's a lot of capabilities here. I thought it was interesting the 3 horses I like to, or 2 of the 3 horses. Mike Smith seems like he's ridden every single horse in here.
Yeah.
And they're very close to winning, but just don't get the job done. So but yeah, I like the 8 a lot too. So I like the breeding. Uncle Mo, obviously coming here into the Midwest, I like to see that as well. But yeah, so that's where I landed. 4 with the 6-8, nothing fancy there, but definitely a tough race to kind of single out, I think.
Yeah, and again, we're similar horses on both sides here. The only thing that gave me that nod with Scylla is obviously the fact that he hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint and has been on the shelf, but the workouts have been fantastic. Like this horse is just as good as this horse has been working out. I think they're just waiting for the spot that they wanted, and I think they got it in this race. But it is a good competitive field. Should be an interesting race, but uh, I like where we're at as far as the exotics in this race as well. I don't know if that'd be my single. I'll get back to you on that. It may be my single with Scylla, but it's a tough race, but it could be. We'll circle back on that. We'll see how that goes. Let's get to the ninth race. Ninth race, 5.5 furlongs. This is the one, the Shakertown, which is scheduled on the turf. I don't know if it's going to happen on the turf. So again, all these horses run predominantly on the turf, so I don't think it's going to really do much for you. If they all change the dirt, no one's really got the advantage. You kind of got to dig a little deeper to see who's got the better advantage when it comes to maybe some mud stats or some dirt stats on the sire of breeding. I'm going to take the 3 as my top shot in this race, which is Arzak. This is another one going on debut for 2025. Listen, 7 times out last year, only 1 win, 2 seconds, 2/3. What do I like about it? I like that Irad's getting the mount here for Michael Trombetta. I'm liking that this horse is going to be going the 5.5 furlongs versus the 5 furlongs. I think 5.5 is better in this wheelhouse for the distance versus 5, too short. Irad's one of the better jockeys on the workouts, 3 bullet workouts coming into this race. Scratch at 4 bullet workouts coming into the race. Really sells it out for me. They got this horse geared and wired and ready to go. Maybe the 3 is my key on top, but I'm going to take Arzak in no specific order underneath. 2 R shot I like. That's Louis Saez and John Terranova on debut this year. First time out, 89 speed figure. Didn't hit the board, but that's what I would have expected. It was a beaten favorite. I expected to do better on the second time out for this year. Should hit the board. Maybe at a price. I know it's 7-2, but I think that's going to float up a little bit. I also like the 5. That's going to be Valentine Candy, debuting also for 2025. Looked really good in 2024 in a lot of the non-graded stakes races that it ran at Churchill Downs. It's been all over and hasn't really had that glory kind of race that you're really looking for Steve Asmussen, but a horse that's well capable. Good workout on March 17th, a minute flat for 5 furlongs. So I think that's going to hit the board. And then to the outside, the 10, probably maybe out of the 3, maybe the one I like a little better here, winning on debut at 5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park in a non-graded stakes race for 165,000. That was back on January 25th. A nice 35-4 workout. Horse likes to break out early. Should be on the speed with Mario Gutierrez for Dale Romans. Just 0 for 3 at Keeneland gives me a little bit of a scare. We'll see if he can change tactics here. Getting a little bit of, I think, from a tactical standpoint in positioning, a little better. Not getting any class relief here. It's been running in some grade 2s. So going to be a tougher race for the 10, but I like the 3 on top. I think the 2, 5, and 10 underneath in some way, shape, or fashion should complete an exacta, and maybe with the try, all button maybe for the try. It's really hard to nail that one down specifically, but out of the 3 that I gave you, I'm expecting a way bigger run from our shot in this race, the 2.
Yeah, I landed on the 1 in this race. You get Johnny V, Kelsey Danner. Looking at this race, I mean, Johnny V has ridden this horse before, and they went out to the lead, and they did not look back. And I think that's something to be said here. Same thing with Saez. Even Saez, they ran on the all-weather, obviously at Turfway, but faltered a little bit late. Now you're going back down to 5.5, which this horse is very capable of doing. And I
Hmm.
think that's going to be the name of the game here. I think they're going to try to get out to the front and push the fractions. I don't think I'd rather have anybody else, unless I could get size on the front end or something like that.
Yeah.
But an aggressive jockey on the front end, especially a veteran like Johnny V, to go ahead and nurse the speed when they need to and then take off. So I like what I'm seeing there. I think that's going to be the tactic. That's the way I handicapped it. Looking at this horse too coming into the race, some really good workouts. The last two races at Turfway, firing off 47-3 and 47-1. Coming into the race. So obviously that tells me that they're going to be looking for speed. They're going to be looking to go, and that's what I
Yeah.
want to see. So again, consistent on the front end. I like the 1. I like the 5 a lot. This is a horse that I actually handicapped just in case they do take it off the turf for some reason, which I don't know if they will, but if they do, this horse is obviously not a turf horse
Yeah.
statistically. This horse is definitely a dirt horse. That's what they've run on. That's what they've won on. And, if it does come off the turf, this is going to be a little bit more of an upgrade for me. It's Jose, Steve Asmussen, like you said, Valentine Candy. But again, another horse that can go to the front, that can go and run. Otherwise, a horse that can set off and nurse the speed and then, take the lead down the stretch. So I like the 5. Like I said, off the turf, definitely an upgrade for me. On the turf, I'll leave it in the second and third positions. And then, like you said, the 10, I think the 10 makes a lot of sense as well. Mario Gutierrez for Dale Romans. What more can you say out of those two last starts that they had? They went to the
Hmm.
front, they blazed the fractions at 5 furlongs, and they won by 3/4 of a length in both identical fashion. If you look at the races, the only thing is they're obviously stretching out just a little bit, and statistically, if you're looking at when they go 5.5, they really don't have the success that they have when they go 5 furlong. So
Yeah.
that's why I downgraded it just a little bit, because even if they do go, maybe it is that they just run out of gas or, just lose focus right at the end. I don't know. But just looking at what I can see here on the form, it is a very strong horse. It is a horse that can go. But I think stretching out just at half a furlong seems like it makes a difference for this horse, which is why I downgraded to second or third. But
Yeah.
maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll come out, lead the race gate to wire, and that'll be that. But I landed 1 with the 5-10 here.
Yeah, yeah. I think that outside position is going to give them a benefit to be able to do whatever they want from the outside. I think Mario's going to have to decide pretty quickly if he's going to go move fast up or if he's going to sit back and stalk from that outside position. I like everything you got there with the 1. Good workouts coming into that race as well. The 5 is going to go from 6-1 probably down to 5-2 if they take this off the turf.
Yeah.
It may even go. Yeah, it may even go to I don't know, maybe 2-1. It depends. When you're talking these taking surface changes, I've seen a lot different from horses that are third, fourth choices that actually go to the odds-on favorite at post time due to that. We'll see, but if they leave it on the turf, could be a whole nother ball game. But I think
and
they're
I mean,
going to. Yeah,
statistically too, I mean, like if you look at the winner, the win percentage, right? This isn't typically. I mean, you can see it. It definitely does happen, but 59% of the winners are coming from a price shorter than 5-1 in this race too.
yeah,
So I guess you'll see what they go off at, but inside post seems like it's definitely you want to be closer to the rail and you want to be under 5-1. Now you do get some
yeah,
bombs, obviously, but not a whole lot of sample size in here. But I mean, definitely does happen, but we'll
right.
see.
Let's go to the 10th race. Showcase this one for you. Mile and an eighth. It's the Toyota Grade 1 Toyota Bluegrass. Purse of 1.25 million, and it's going to be for 3-year-olds. Tough race, obviously. The race that everyone wants to watch here. There's some horses in here that I typically don't. I've liked in the past, and I'm having to shy away from in this race. Unfortunately, I'm going to go back to Burnham Squares, my top choice. Brian Hernandez for Ian Wilkes. Didn't really like the last race at all in the Fountain of Youth. Did not run its best race at all. Was pretty much just out of it. Sovereignty won that race pretty handily. I'm going to go back to Burnham Square here. Why? I'm just going to go ahead and toss a line right through that last race. See if we can get back to that 101 speed figure that it ran in the Holy Bull. See if it can sit in that forwardly placing position. I think Keeneland's going to be a benefit than where we had raced over at Gulfstream Park. So I'm going to take Burnham Square on top. I do like River Thames underneath the 1. That was a bang up race in the Fountain of Youth that it ran. Should follow up with a good race from that debut in the graded stakes. Owen Almighty, the 4 would be my third choice. Another one that's going to be forwardly placed. Tampa Bay Derby, I don't hold a lot of stake in, but I think it's good enough to be able to hit the board and clean up some exotics. And then I'll finish up with Chancer McPatrick, the 6. That's Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. Another one, second place in the Tampa Bay Derby, but the running style kind of bodes well. Take out that Breeders' Cup Juvenile race, and the horse has been, 3 wins in a second. You just really throw a clunker in at Del Mar that day as near odds-on favorite. I think Jansen McPatrick, too, coming a little bit more into form here. Speed figures took a little hit in that last race, but second time out for 2025, I think you're going to see a little bit of a difference. And I think Pratt knows what he did wrong in that last race and where things went bad in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and I think learned a lot. He's going to be the predominant rider on this horse for Chad Brown every opportunity. I think he's going to make the most of it too. Could be his Derby opportunity for all I know coming into the final prep races. So that's where I fell at. I'm just going to stick with Burnham Square. I lost money on him last time. I guess I'll lose money on him again. I'll take the 3 with the 1-4-6.
We are very much aligned here. We've got all similar horses here. I landed on the 1, River Thames.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. Todd Pletcher, Irad.
Yeah.
Interesting. Johnny V typically gets a mount on this horse, and then now you're moving to Irad. Not that it matters in terms of, jockey prowess, right? I mean, but a horse that really has shown a lot in their 3 races, right? I mean, 2 for 3, first 2 races won very, very handily. And then, obviously the Fountain of Youth, they just missed. Right. So, and you were very high on Sovereignty. I think Sovereignty is a great horse. We kind of talked about that earlier, a horse that just got a bad trip, I think a lot of that horse as well. So that makes me think a lot of this one as well. I think that, them running that very, very close race, in the Fountain of Youth makes me think that this horse is very capable of a big run here in the Bluegrass. Obviously it's the dynamic duo, Todd Pletcher and Irad. You don't ever want to leave them out. Good workouts coming into the race. Again, I think, the 3 speed figures this horse has posted in their first 3 races, 96, 99, and 99. So they're on the improve. They're on the up and up. I think they're capable of a big run. You might see that on Saturday. So that's my top choice. I like the 3 underneath, like you said. I mean, the 3 makes a lot of sense here. Obviously last time out just wasn't the best of races for them. Also not the best of trips. If you really see what they typically do in those 2 wins, they were either on the lead or just off the lead by a length, maybe 2 lengths. In that race in the Fountain of Youth, they were 4 back and just kind of 1 paced. So obviously did not fit the script for them and what they expected and what they wanted. But again, I think you just change it up and you get a better break, and Brian Hernandez just putting the source where they need to be definitely can make a difference here. And I think is very, very solid of a choice. Could win the race. I have it underneath, but can very well win the race. And you might see that on Saturday too. The other horse that I had is the 6, like you said, Chancer McPatrick, Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. I feel like Chad Brown's been kind of quiet. This is a horse that isn't that quiet,
Agreed. Yeah.
Again, Flavian Pratt's ridden this horse its entire career. Like you said, the Breeders' Cup, Juvenile was not the best race for them. It's a blemish on the scorecard. Again, if you look at who's riding in this race, so Citizen Bull, Gaming, like these horses are very, very big horses to run up against. So, if you scratch a line through that race like I did, you're looking, like you did as well, you're looking at a horse that's totally different and very well could win the race, being 3 for 4 in my eyes. So, again, very tactical horse, but also, could be very far back and still win the race. So if we get a speed duel at the front end and you see, maybe our top 2 choices just going at it, I wouldn't be surprised if you see this horse come from the rafters and scoop up the money late. So grade 1s, definitely their forte. They've ridden 3 of them. And, I like I like what I'm seeing out of the 6 as well. So that's where I landed. I'm taking a shot with the 1, with the 3 and the 6 underneath.
Yeah, very similar picks. And you're right. I think all 3 of those that we have there, it's a coin toss all going to be on how the races run. I think if you look at some of these races with horses that are coming in from like the juvenile races in these bigger races for 3-year-olds this year, how they ran in those races, if you win a graded race like that at Breeders' Cup Day, it bodes well. You want to pay attention to it.
Yep.
But if you run bad in those races and you don't win, I don't think it's as bad. You're running against good horses, and it gives you a feel for what you're going to feel like on Derby Day with the larger size, the larger crowds. So winning them is great, but losing them, I don't think is a total blemish. I can just chalk that one off. And when you take that race out for the 6, then it really stands out that this horse, the way it looks like you said, just a bad number on the scorecard. That's it. It's like 1 hole on your scorecard when you're golfing. The rest of it was all birdies, pars, and eagles. So the 6 is definitely a contender. We're going to finish this up. We're going to go to the last leg, 11th race, 7 furlongs, allowance, 120,000 condition, purse of 120,000 for 4-year-olds and upwards, which have never won a race other than maiden claiming or starter, which have never won 2 races. So we go with all these graded stakes races, and then we finish up here with an other than non-winners of 2. Really throw in a clunker here. But in all honesty, this is the one I had the most confidence in almost handicapping because they were all either in the possibility or a complete scratch off my list. So I'm going to let you take the reins in this last race. Let you give your picks here for race 11. We're going into the last leg. Who do you like?
We started off in this pick 5 with a Jose Cherie DeVaux win in my eyes. So I think it's only fitting to end with a Cherie DeVaux Jose Ortiz win. At the end of the card, bookend DeVaux Jose connection. I like this one a lot. I think Seaport Lane, first time asking an allowance 59K. Went to the lead again, blazing fractions, total speed horse, won by 2 lengths. Right, just dominated the field first time asking. I think that's really, really impressive. I don't know if anybody else can compete with that. You can go as fast as you want. There's a lot of horses that are in there, but that's screaming in my eyes. And if you can hold on and not get caught, maybe the competition wasn't as great, but I mean, you're running against very similar here in this race. I don't see why not again. So I like the 1 a lot here. Very, very solid horse in its debut. So that's what I'm banking on here. I like the 8 underneath at a smaller price, but a decent price at 5-1. Brian Hernandez, hitting the board very consistently. They just ran their best speed figure, ended up losing the race. I mean, they pressed the speed pretty much the entire way, but did not get the head down first, lost by a neck. And, again, another horse very capable of a big run. And why not today in a horse in a field like this, but the only thing is you got to come back, from an outside post. It's a little bit easier when you're going to be on the lead and you've got that inside post position. Right. So, again, they just got to get positioned quick. Definitely not impossible. But you got to get in the position as soon as possible so that you can compete in this leg. And then the 11 at a decent price here, Edgar Zayas and George Arnold. Last time out, obviously Zayas had the mount. They set off the speed and they just kind of let them do what they're going to do. And then they pulled away and won the race. I think that was the best tactic that they've had. They tried it once before in its opener debut. Granted, that was their debut, ran a 88 speed figure, but didn't get the job done with Castellano. Then you tried to take this horse and put it as close to the lead as possible. They pulled up a little bit, didn't really run the best race at Keeneland. First time, Kentucky Downs being Kentucky Downs, way too far back, 12 lengths off. This horse has to be in position. When they put this horse just off the lead in a good spot, they were able to break their maiden and kind of pull away. So again, a horse that needs to get positioned early, needs to be really competitive right away. Zayas is going to do that. I think they've got no issue with him putting this horse where they need to be. And they've run into the fast fractions before. That's how they got their win. They ran into a 22:45, which is exactly what the 1 horse race runs. So, 92 speed figure coming into the race, the best race that they've had, the best tactic that they've had, and running up against very similar fractions that they broke their maiden on. So again, the 11 at a decent price of 15-1, I'll definitely throw that underneath as well. So I've got the 1 with the 8 and the 11 in this leg.
That's perfect. I'm not even gonna handicap this race. I don't have to. I'm just gonna show you we're right there. I got 1-8-11. You got 1-8-11. The only thing I'll argue with what you said is that in talking about the 1, didn't beat great horses. That wasn't a maiden race. That wasn't a maiden claiming race. It wasn't
an allowance race.
There was an allowance 59,000 non-winners of 1.
Yep.
First time on debut, 94 speed figure and wins that race. I think that's all you have to see. All you have to see with those kind of fractions where we're in a 7-horse field at the fairgrounds. I'm fine with taking this horse on top. I think it's only going to improve on its speed figure second time out. It's going to run about the same kind of quality of horses that we just talked about that it should be running up against. The 8 in its debut, or it's not debut, but the last time it ran was 53,000 non-winners of 2, and it just missed. So you've already got first time out winning at 59,000 against winners, not against maidens. It's already running against winners, and and it wins that race. So I got the same thing. 1-8 for everything you said. I think the 8 is the fade. I think the 8 is going to try to compete and fade out. And I think the 11 can pick up some pieces late and also be in there. Actually, I think I like the 11 a little better, and I like the 8, especially with that 5 furlongs in a minute and 3. I'll take that all day long. The only one that you didn't have, because I go 4 deep, is the 3. I think this is a nice stocking trip possibility for Luis Saez. Shug McGahee, I like the combination when they team up. You don't see it too often. When you do, it's usually something special here. This horse has been ridden by Rosario and Davis the last couple of times, going back to Saratoga last year. And now you got Luis Saez, who knows this track like the back of his hand, going to be riding this one very precautious. I think in a stocking trip, going to have that inside speed, will be right near the one at go. 49 flat for 4 furlongs. Nothing great, but it was the best that day on May 30th. I think coming in, that's all I want to see is a nice steady workout on a horse that's been running in 92,000. So it's getting a little bit, not class relief, but it's going to see horses that haven't been running at that level previously, that this has kind of been running in that same level. So again, I think the 1 hands down, but I think the 3 has an opportunity at a price too. 10-1 Luis Saez, Shug McGahee. So there you go. Same number combination, 1, 11, and 3. That is your pick 5. Now I think I can single both ends with Jose and Mo and feel comfortable about it enough. It almost seems too simple, so that means that we're missing something. One of these races, they've got to have a wrench in it. You, the listener or the viewer, you go ahead and find out where that is, make the adjustment, put your winner in place, and get your 5 out of 5, or we'll sit with 4 out of 5. Now, Keeneland does pay 4 out of 5.
Yes, they do.
So this is where we cash at least our money back in most of these opportunities, because we're good for 4. Hopefully we're not good for 3 this week. That's it for the podcast this week. Wood Memorial is obviously going on. We were going to do the Aqueduct card, but I can't do the Aqueduct card. I think the best card that Aqueduct had for the entire year so far was last week, and we already missed that. So this week, Wood Memorial, it's a great race. I'm never very strong in the Wood Memorial. There's not really any contenders that actually lead into anything from come Derby Day. I don't hold a lot of stock in those winners. Still a good race, still a great track. I figured, listen, I think we agreed, consensus was to say Keeneland was the go-to. It's the track that we kind of love the most and had the most success at, so we kind of went there. But Wood Memorial's going on. Good luck to anybody who's betting on the Wood Memorial. I don't think I'll be throwing any cash on that. Anything for you, kid, for this weekend other than watching the final 4 in the championship round?
No.
Mets, how they doing this year in your opinion?
They could be better, but it's early, so
yeah,
like
to see
it's early in the season. Yeah, I'd like to see more runs, but you know, gotta wake them up a little bit. Lindor needs to get going. Soto hit a home run this year already, but I'd like to see at least 1 or 2 more here by this time, But like I said, it's early. Pete's got 2. Yeah, so it seems like everybody. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that hit home runs, but Nimmo's got. I think Nimmo's got 2. Soto's got 1. Pete's got 2. Somebody else hit 1 too.
Vientos have 1 yet?
I don't think so.
Well, he can't even run the first, so I guess.
Yeah, he's having a tough go, but
they're giving him shit for that, man. You got to run to the base every time hard, man. He'll learn.
That's true. That's very true.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Listen, thank everybody for listening and watching this week. We'll be back next week. We got like 4 more weeks, 5 more weeks technically till we get to the first Saturday of May for the Kentucky Derby. We're going to have all that coverage and then some moving forward. Until next week, for myself and